Welcome to the Cyber Agony Aunt podcast series, brought to you by your very own cyber aunties, me, Amelia Hewitt.
And me, Rebecca Taylor. We're here to tackle the most pressing questions that arise throughout your cyber career with a selection of very special guests.
Think of us as your very own mentors, confidants, and cheerleaders, your agony aunts for surviving your career. Hello and welcome back to the Cyber Agony Aunt podcast. I am so excited for this episode.
I don't.
I can see the excitement on your face too, Rebecca.
I can't help it. So, for this episode, we've invited an absolute role model, an advocate, an activist, a speaker, a lawyer, genuinely one of my favourite people and one of the most inspiring person I've ever met in my whole life. And that is a big thing to say. The list is truly endless. I met this individual as part of my own TEDx journey. And fundamentally, she opened my eyes not only to these struggles that so many people face, but that particularly social injustices were still so rife in our communities. And really that we should all be doing so much more to represent, to advocate and to push for equity. It's so important, so beautiful, magnificent, excellent guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, wow. I mean, I can go home now. That's brilliant. I'm Pauline Campbell. I met Rebecca when we were doing our TEDx's last October. I can't believe it's a year ago.
I know.
And we just struck up a fantastic, really great relationship. And I am the day job, I sound like a superhero. My day job is I'm a principal lawyer for a local authority, dealing with all kinds of things that nobody else wants to deal with within the prosecutions team and civil litigation. I do everything and I run a team. But my other job, which is now taking up an enormous amount of my time, is my pro bono work for Windrush victims and social justice work, which I do. Also work I do in relation to trying to encourage older people to get back into law. If it's their dream, they can do it because I did it. And I'm also an author of 2 books. The first was Rice and Peas and Fish and Chips, which looks at my journey in the 60s, growing up in Britain at that time and what it was like. And my second book is Lefty Lawyer, about how I overcame the difficulties of the stereotypes that were attached to me at the age of 15, telling me I wasn't A-level material, to become a solicitor at the age of 41, and how I've had to hit the ground running over the last 20 years to just make a massive difference. And I suppose there's lots more, but that's enough, I think, for now.
I am so excited about this. I mean, I started my career in the legal sector and I'm now actually studying law for my master's. And already I'm like chomping at the bit to know more about what you did. And I'm so certain that our audience are going to love this completely.
Oh, I mean, it's just a journey that we all take. Every one of us has it inside of us to do what we want. Just some of us get sidetracked sometimes with living.
Yeah. For sure.
You are exceptional.
Yeah,
it is an absolute honour to have you with us.
Small challenge.
Yeah, there is the bills,
Yeah.
So today is going to be a bit of a different episode, and one which we know will make all of you think on a deeper level. That's the purpose, right? So many of those around us are trapped in their own silence, struggling to find equality, equity, their voices, and maybe even feeling alone. This episode, we're going to share how we can all break free from that silence, how we can all advocate, how we all have the power, the accountability, responsibility to affect positive change.
I could not have said that better myself. So without further ado, Pauline, we think the best place to start today for our benefit and our listeners is to share your journey from being a young person to becoming such an influential lawyer and representative of groups like the Windrush community. Could you please share for us what your journey looked like and what drove you to this kind of work and working with Windrush victims?
Oh, thank you so much. I think that the journey for all of us, particularly for me as a young child born in Britain to Jamaican parents, was that there was it was hard for my mum and dad, but when we were kids, we didn't realise how bad it was because we just played with our black friends, our white friends, our Asian friends. We didn't think about it. But as we got older, we started to see those walls that were there for my parents and were there for us. And when I was born, funnily enough, I was born in the same year and the same month as Boris Johnson.
Were you?
The same year, the same month. And the difference was I was born in this country and he wasn't. He was born in America.
I didn't know.
Nor did I.
There you
How
go.
interesting.
There you go. And so for me, I always align myself to his life in comparison to mine. But one of the things I realise is when you're growing up in a country that's your home, it's your home. Yes, there's things that happen to you that you don't like. But as I grew older and I got my friends and I got on with living, I always knew I was bright. And at school, I was always bright. But when I got to the age of 15, by that time, so many things had happened in my life. I was told to go back to where I came from. My teachers told me that I wasn't A-level material. And I started to lose my way. And I think that what happened at that time was that I never had a black teacher. There was no one who I could affiliate to that made me feel they would have noticed this A student has just gone down. What's happened? But our teachers didn't think that way. So growing up, I never had that guidance other than from my dad and my mum, who didn't have a position of power. So I just agreed with my teacher when she said I wasn't bright. And for 20 odd years, 16 to 20 years, I just did the normal thing. Office work, general things, which are good jobs, paid decent wages, but it wasn't what I wanted to be. I always wanted to be a lawyer. And so something went off in my head in my 30s because I worked for complaints for housing benefits. I was a housing benefits officer and I was dealing with some really complex stuff. And managers were taking credit for all the work I was doing. And I had to draft ombudsman's complaints and they're really complicated. And I also had to represent the council at local authority reviews. We never ever won, but I always won. And I knew I became a union representative and I said, right, something's clicked in me to say, Pauline, you need to get back on track. And that's what happened in my 30s. I got back on track, did a law degree, full-time, travelled back and forth to work because I couldn't afford to give up my job. So I did a 25-hour week and continued to work and drove back and forth to the nearest uni to where I worked in Hackney, which was the Holloway Road, North London University. And I just drove back and forth and did that for 3 years and came out with a 2-1. And I was gutted because I wanted a first. But there you go. That's how I got my law degree. And I suppose the journey from there is that you've just got to keep pushing.
Sure. I mean, that's incredible. And I think there is so much conversation in the legal sector, as there is around cyber, that it's not particularly accessible and that there is still a lot of, well, nepotism's a key one, but there is also still a lot of prejudice in hiring practices and in also things like vacation schemes, getting experience. What was your experience of actually doing that transition into law like, having come from sort of local authority?
I mean, it was twofold for me because our family and our friends who love us want the best for us. And that applies to cyber. It applies to everyone we love. We want the best for them. So when I said I want to do this, the people that loved me and cared about me, they said, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
And they kind of like said, look, you've got a good job. You've got your flat, you've got your mortgage, you're paying your bills. Why do you want to do this? And it wasn't coming from a place of, I don't want you to do it. It was coming from a place of, I'm nervous. Don't jump out of the safe space you're in. And also you've got the doubters, the awful people who just look at you like you're not worth anything. Why are you doing it? Are you mad? And literally laughed at you when you said you wanted to be a lawyer. And you've got a Cockney accent. You're a black girl from Hackney. What's your problem? What you doing? And so I found the beginning, and this applies to everyone, the beginning of that change is the hardest.
Sure.
Because that's when you're most vulnerable. That's when you're most unsure about, do I do it or not? And you'll get it from the people who love you and the people who don't. And you've got to focus. So the barriers for me was the beginning of the journey, because once you're on it, you won't get off.
Yeah.
It's getting on it and staying on it. That was the hard part for me. So I got on it, and once I was on it, I was okay. But I found that the doubting Thomases could have derailed me if I hadn't been focused. So I would say to everybody, once you're on that trip, you won't get off. And that was the access to it was through the people I knew rather than getting in to the elitism system. Because once you're in the elitism system, you're in it. You just got to stay put.
Sure.
I think that's what can be hard. And I think that's what's amazing about you is you have the tenacity and the motivation. And I think a lot of that has likely come from the rewards you've reaped from being that person and from pushing through. But it can be really hard to potentially go against those that love you or are like, please don't. I don't think it's a great idea. I mean, even when I think back to Amelia and I, our cyber agony aunt journey, I've had people at the time be like, are you sure like you're putting yourself out there? You're opening yourself up to criticism. People are going to look at you, know you. Are you sure you want to do it? Like, yeah, because it's the right thing to do. And I'm excited about it and I love it. I appreciate you being there for me, but I need you to back me.
That's it. We have to allow our family to have their doubts, but whatever their doubts are, it's their doubts. They're not ours. We've got enough to deal with, so we need to focus on that. So you're 100% right. But what you've got to do is not allow, because partners, you need a very strong partner if you're going to change your career, because if they're not supportive, you are not going to make it, or you're not going to last in that relationship. And I found that having my partner, my husband, he has sat on my journey with me all the way, and he hasn't felt out of place with what I'm doing. Whereas sometimes that can happen because people will be bullies in certain ways, and when they see that their partners are moving into a certain area or they lack control or they're losing control, that can be a problem. And that works with all the things that you guys do about control and whether people don't want to lose that control over you. That's very important.
I love the answers to this question. My goodness. It's so much food for thought, though, already. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we do spend a lot of time mentoring and supporting individuals, our community, who are wanting to make that career change. So I think that's all incredible advice and something that a lot of people will resonate with. I'm going to wiggle on to the next question for you.
Yes.
So obviously, looking at your amazing work, it feels in recent years, you've really been using your voice and your role to push for change and that positivity, whether that's in articles in The Guardian or speaking out on LBC. It's bold and it's brave, right? It takes guts to do stuff like that. Do you have any tips for anyone wanting to speak out who have an opinion on maybe a sensitive or even politically charged topic? How do they find that bravery and the words to speak out, even if it could bring a negative light on them or isn't liked by everyone?
I would say that everybody's voice is different. You don't have to be, I've always had a mouth on me. My dad says he's got 5 kids, and when he tells them to do something, 4 of them say, yes, Daddy, but someone always says why, and he gives you one guess who that is. That's what my dad said about me. And so as a child, I've always been outspoken, but I was silent for a long time because I didn't think I was good enough. I would say that bravery and voice are 2 different things. If you feel there's something you want to say, but you're not sure how to say it, you've got to find a way that works for you. For me, I find it's easier for me to be outspoken in a wide forum because I want people to hear what I've got to say, because I could impact other people's lives through my voice. But there's other people who are nervous about stepping out of that comfort zone. So what I would say to them is, even if you're frightened to say something, there's no harm in writing something down or speaking to someone that you trust to share your voice with. That's the beginning of your journey. Share your voice with someone that you know and find out what they come back with, and then you come back, and then you're beginning a conversation. And I'll give you the best example. Because I'm the chair of the Race Equality Network, directors will always come to me and say, Pauline, I don't know what to do. I've got problems, blah, blah, blah. And one director said to me, Pauline, I don't know how to deal with the difficult conversation. I'm a white manager and the majority of my staff are not white. How can I bring this difficult conversation of inequality to the table? And I said, you started that by talking to me. I said, the beginning of your journey is to tell me that you feel uncomfortable. That's the beginning of your journey. And if you have come to me, that means you're ready to talk. And so I will help you now navigate your way through doing that via my voice in the Race Equality Network. Look for allies in the area you want to speak up about. And they may speak for you, but the aim has to be that at the beginning of the journey, they're speaking for you, but you've got to become your own voice at the end of that journey. And that's how it will work if you're nervous about it. But even if you never actually say anything or do anything, your actions speak louder than words. There's so many ways. You could write poetry, or you could write a script, or you could sing, or you could do anything like that to use your voice. There's so many. You could draw. Art is a great way of expression. And if you want to do that, those are the sort of things you can do. Like a knitting club could do a knitting event and they could sell those goods to alleviate poverty. And that's another way of using your voice. Oh, my God, there's so many ways you can use it. I just can't think of them all right now.
No, I think that's fantastic. And I think the thing we come up against a lot and what we see, and I'm interested to know if you have experience of this, is that statistically, and there's been a lot of research into this, women are graded in performance reviews based on likability as opposed to performance. And that has quite a direct impact on, you know, us feeling that we can't speak out sometimes and we can't challenge injustices. And I'm conscious that that's probably not limited to the tech sector. And I know that the study on this was done in the tech sector. And I speak to a lot of women who don't feel that they can speak out on issues for fear of being disliked. I'm interested to know what you think of that and if you've come up against that sort of bias or experience in your career.
Well, welcome to the life of a black woman. I mean, as a black woman, if you say something which is assertive, or you say something like me, you know, what the hell, you're an aggressive, angry black woman. I've been called that by white people, Asian people, black people. They call you, as you have to think about how you present yourself. So I look at it this way, and you've got to feel very comfortable in your skin as a woman. What I don't want is for women to turn on each other.
Yeah.
Which happens
We
because
see that
they're
a lot. Yeah.
You guys, they don't want to make room for you if they're already there and established. And when you get there, they give you the hardest time. The women give you the hardest time. So you're up against it in both ends, but we've got to remember their journey and where they've come from and how they've got there. So the best example I can give, and I've done a piece on this, is Margaret Thatcher, Diane Abbott. Two amazing women. I do not agree with Margaret Thatcher's politics. I mean, for goodness sake, that's just not me. But Diane Abbott, I don't necessarily agree with all her politics. But they're two political figureheads that stood out in a world that was predominantly made up of white males. And one is revered and one is ridiculed.
Yeah.
But does that change me respecting Margaret Thatcher because of what she achieved? No. What I do is I look at what they've both achieved and I soak it in and I appreciate it. So what I would say is no matter how bad things get as women, we must never forget the journey we've been on, and we must never forget where we're going and who we're going to try and help along the way. And you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Sometimes you are going to have to give it some.
Yeah.
As a woman, you're going to have to go into a room and you're going to have to give it some. And you have to remember that that is your role. And if somebody doesn't like it, as long as you're doing it from a place of respect, with integrity, they can go jump if they don't like what they hear. Like, literally when I talked to Nick Ferrari, when I rang in, I forgot people were listening. You don't remember, you don't think somebody's listening. So he's going, well, I don't think we should be doing this, blah, blah, blah. Don't you think it's right? This is me, listen, Nick. The key to this is you're going to please some of the people some of the time, but you're not going to please all the people all the time. And in life, if something needs to be done, we're going to do it. And people aren't going to like it, but we have to stand firm with what we believe in. And as women, we mustn't be worried to be assertive. And we are going to get it. We're going to get it.
Yeah.
It's how we deal with it when we do get the criticism. We're not going to throw our toys out of the pram. We're going to respond carefully, but forcefully. That's how you've got to do it, and not be frightened to do it. We're there. Let's make the most of our presence. That's what I say.
I can't help but just listening to you be like, yeah, Pauline, I'm going to walk in that room.
Kick a door down right now.
If there's not a seat at the table, you bring a folding chair.
Amazing.
There's a soundbite.
I'm telling you, that
Amazing.
is just so cool. Now, I can't remember if it was Michelle Obama who said it, or Oprah Winfrey who said it, or Maya Angelou who said it, but somebody said it. And when I heard it, I never forgot it. So, yeah.
Amazing. That's incredible. Rebecca, I'm interested to know what your thoughts on that question are, really, because a lot of the work you do in the threat space can often be political or charged, with negative connotation. And you do a lot of threat briefing and you speak to a lot of organisations. What has your experience of that been like?
It's been a mixed bag. I think I've had to get comfortable, like Pauline said, with who I am and what I bring. I am conscious in lots of spaces I am the only woman in the room. I don't necessarily view it as a negative. I think it's probably something that I've learnt to adapt to. But then that's why I do the mentoring, I do the community outreach, I support individuals coming in through alternative path. I do what I can because I want to see other people with me and I want to bring other people along for the conversation. And that's again why I do a lot with mum groups and parents and working with law enforcement to talk about the threat, whether that be talking about young boys or like the other week I spoke about women and their role in cybercrime. Because again, I believe everyone deserves the right to feel safe and to feel heard and to feel like they can make informed decisions. So I don't know, I just do what I can with the time that I've got, because whilst it's morbid, you don't know how long you've got and you don't know what you're going to leave behind. But I hope when my time does come, I've left something positive and that people feel like I brought them with me.
I love that, because we've got to remember our legacy, ladies. Oh, my God. I mean, we've come from women who have been force-fed in prisons by other women in order to get the vote. We come from women who have been encapsulated in enslavement for thousands and thousands of years, women who were the property of their men.
Yeah.
Who were not even, and we were chattel as slaves.
Yeah.
But women who were married to their men, where they became their property. So we come from, and these women fought. So we are the next line up in saying, well, if they can do that, I can do this. And that's how we do it. Look behind us to see what's happened before we got here in situations where people had absolutely no rights at all and they still fought.
Yeah. I think with a lot of social justice, the narrative that I see is that, we've come a really long way, but I don't think people recognise that a lot of the work and how social justice looks now is very different. So now, it may not be that we go and protest, but in the work that we do a lot in terms of educating people or making content or access to support more accessible. And that is still a form of social justice, but it doesn't look like going and, protesting because we want the right to vote. It's advocacy in a very different way. And I'm sure in your career, you've probably seen a real shift in how advocacy looks and how people can have a voice on a more individual level as opposed to as part of a bigger collective.
Definitely. I mean, I am a history geek. My husband thinks, what the hell is this room? It's just full of all this stuff. There's nothing I don't read. I've got books, encyclopedias. I've got pages and pages of history, because history is our future, what we've seen and what we come from. But it's also power. It also gives me real empowerment to see where we've come from and what's happened before I got here. And I think that education of our history, black, white and brown, is crucial if I want my social justice journey to excel in the way that I need it to. And I mean, I literally have just written a book called Kings, Queens and the Corridors of Power as a black woman talking about the history of the royal family, because I think there's so many affiliations between Elizabeth's relationship with her father when he was thrown in as king and did not expect it and didn't want it, and my dad coming here, being thrown into this country where he had absolutely no chance or any choice in how he was treated. And even though they're completely different privileges, the feeling of fear and care is the same. And I've never seen a book out there like that. And I'm not a royal correspondent. And of course, they're all going to be, oh, why are you doing this? But that's coming out your comfort zone again.
Yeah.
And it's not coming from a place of I hate the royal family or I love the royal family. It's coming from a place of I think it's important that I put this down on paper. So I've done it. And I'm looking at it right now to think, OK, which publisher's going to look at this?
So exciting. I mean, that leads me on perfectly to our next question. So as you mentioned previously, you've authored 2 books, so Rice and Peas and Fish and Chips, and your most recent release, Lefty Lawyer. As fellow authors, I mean,
That feels strange.
So strange to say out loud even now, but our journey around sort of authorship and writing as a pair, it was very interesting. But I'm very interested to know what it was like for you writing both books, and how did that come about for you, and what inspired you to do that on top of everything else that you've done?
I mean, what we know as authors is we've got something to say and we want to share what we have to say. And being published is hard, getting to that point. And it's so hard for writers. So we're very honoured that we're in that frame where we've done it.
Definitely.
But I entered a writing competition on equality in 2020, and I entered it, and it was 5,000 words. And it was on my journey. So it was a short version of Rice and Peas and Fish and Chips. And I talked about Enoch Powell, I talked about growing up in Britain, I talked about all the things that happened to me, but in a very short way. And it got put into a anthology, and I was really pleased. And then it also got shortlisted for something else. But because I'd got shortlisted, I couldn't go to the other competition. But they were called Nobra, and they were like a publishing organisation, and they said, we'd like to talk to you about putting Rice and Peas and Fish and Chips together as a book because we really liked what you'd written. And that's how my journey started. And that's a really good way. People say competitions, it's like, really hard to get through the door. But if you find a topic that you feel strongly about, and you write about it and you put it into a short story competition or into an essay competition, you'll get noticed by people. And so that was my journey. I did it, and that's how I found my publisher. And that was really important to me because they really did give me the leg up I needed to publish my first book traditionally, and I was really pleased about that.
I think, it's strange to label. I don't know. I feel strange labelling myself as an author. I don't know that it sits comfortably yet, but it's like you said. I think if I take it from my perspective, and I'd love to hear yours as well, Amelia, is for me the book was born over the new year. We were like, this would be funny if we did it, but from this urge to put information out there and to help people and to share information and knowledge. And that was really the motivation. So no one was alone, and they could get that support. They could hear an experience and get help, which, I resonate with what you said, Pauline.
Yeah. I mean, similar for me. And I, as someone who's still in their early 20s, I've always said, I just wish someone would give me a manual for how I'm supposed to do all of this. And, I moved out quite early. I've excelled in my career quite early. And the position I find myself in now, I'm often in circumstances where I feel that no one around me was doing what I was doing. And I think, Rebecca, you've had very similar experiences where I just wanted someone to know, and I wanted the younger version of myself to know it's completely fine if you don't know what you're doing, but we are here to help you. And we've always said that we want our book to feel like you're having a glass of wine with a friend. And that's feedback that we got independently of us saying that. I think it just articulated it so well. And that's the bottom line for me, was that if one person feels a little bit more comforted by the fact that what they're experiencing isn't, whilst it might have adversity, it isn't career ending, it isn't world ending. That's what I wanted. So I think that was my motivation. But I do agree, Rebecca, it feels strange saying, oh, I'm an author. And when I tell people, do you know, when I tell people I feel okay, it's when someone else brings it up to me. Someone will say, oh, I've seen you've written a book, or I've seen you've got a podcast. I still get that internal...
It's owning it, right? It's owning
you guys
as part of your identity.
You guys need to get with the programme, for goodness sake. Own it. You're authors. It's not easy to write. I'm an author. And own it. And remember, I can't take a compliment if somebody goes, oh my God, you look amazing, isn't it? Oh, thank you. And, but when it's the books we've written, the things we've done, we just need to just be open about it and honest about it. And we're not doing it in an egotistical way. We're doing it in a way that this is another part of my life and I'm just telling you about it. So, yeah, ladies, we've done it. So, hey.
Put.
Yay.
I love that.
Maybe one day. We'll keep trying. I'm going to take us into the next question. So, many of us, as I'm sure you're aware, Pauline, are wanting to be positive allies and advocates. How best can we be an advocate, and what small changes can we make in the everyday to encourage equity and equality in the spaces around us?
It's... In this period of time, it's hard for me to answer that without getting hurt and feeling sad about things, because the way we are now at this particular time in the UK, it is not easy to say how you feel about what's happening around the country, more or less the world at the moment. So, because the key is that I think that we are in a place we've never been in before. Logic always used to overcome people who didn't have common sense. So if you have factual information, as a lawyer, when I walk into a room, I know that the judge is just going to throw me out if I just say, well, I think it's this, judge. I think that's the answer. But at the moment, the majority of thought and feeling that seems to be gathering momentum is the lack of common sense, the lack of anybody understanding that the information that they're holding on to is misinformation, is incorrect information. You're hooking yourself onto something which is inaccurate. But the problem you have is that they don't care. So for me, being an advocate now, I've had to rethink how I put arguments forward, because using facts no longer work. So what I think we have to do is look at the ordinary man and woman on the street who just get up every morning and who just want to have a decent life, who don't want to get engaged in anything that's going to be painful to them or be unsafe, and let them know that all I'm asking you to do as an advocate is to do your own research when you're looking at something. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, I completely get it. So as an advocate now, I'm walking into a room. Next week, I'm doing something at the University of East London. And what I'm going to do is say, my advocacy is not for people who already think the same way I do anymore. My advocacy now has to reach out to people who wouldn't even know who I am. And that's Middle England.
Yeah.
And how do I do that as an advocate? So I would say that advocacy at this moment in time is very, very difficult.
Yeah,
For sure.
Because we're not in a common sense place.
No, I completely agree. And we speak a lot in the cyber world about misinformation and how much it's growing, and especially with generative AI being how most people offset their cognitive ability. It's really challenging to have those conversations and advocate for yourself sometimes, because you don't even realise the information you're getting is incorrect, and you don't have trust in your own critical reasoning skills to be able to disseminate between those things. So I think that's scary, and I'm sure you see that in the threat space a lot.
Oh yeah,
Rebecca.
very much, very much. I actually wanted to just take us quickly down another little pathway, if it's okay. I was speaking to a fellow cyber professional yesterday about an event I ran a few months ago. I think it was a few months ago, time flies, where we were talking about women and online safety. And one of the things that she really enjoyed about the experience was that, yes, there were women there, and it's great talking to women about issues that women face, but actually different representatives from other parts of the community, including males, joined. And it was that advocacy and that allyship that stood up and meant, in a way, a little bit more to show that other people were thinking beyond their exclusive gender or sex, and actually they were putting themselves out into spaces to learn and to understand. And I think that's a big part of advocacy now, is maybe putting yourself again in spaces where you wouldn't have naturally been back in time, and wanting to learn, to break down that mis and disinformation, and just to be empathetic and understanding.
I love that. That is literally where we're at right now. I sometimes think, how much far out of the box can I go? Oh my God, Pauline, you really... But I now need to think outside the box if I want advocacy to work for me in the situation we're in right now. And that's what I'm doing. I'm thinking, how can I think outside the box? Writing kings, queens and corridors of power is another way of thinking outside the box.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of awkwardness, I think, around being a good ally and a good advocate, around the fact that, and we've spoke about it a lot in writing this book, is that we know that we have an immense amount of privilege because, where we're from, the parents we were born to, the country we live in, all of those things, that actually the best thing we can do sometimes is to say, I don't know a lot about this topic because I don't have lived experience of having this sort of discrimination or having this sort of experience. And through writing the book, I think we've had more open conversations with people through just saying, we don't know a lot about this, so therefore we don't know how to write advice that would support this certain group of people. Neurodiversity is a really big one, actually.
Yeah.
Neither of us are neurodiverse, and so we didn't feel it was appropriate for us to write advice for people who are going through the diagnosis or going through learning how to ask for reasonable adjustments and that sort of thing. But I think there's so much power in just saying, I'm not sure, could you please help me? Or asking someone, how can I support in the correct way? Is that something you've also seen, that people are really uncomfortable about it?
I mean, yes. I think that because I'm so open, like Rebecca will tell you, when we met, we were just chatting because it's all
Doesn't
about...
sound like Rebecca.
It's all about being open enough for people to want to receive what you've got to say. And a lot of black people that I know, good friends of mine, and other people who I see on TV and all the rest of it, they're really very angry and they say certain things which I would not necessarily say, but I understand their pain. I understand where that pain is coming from because I've had that lived experience. And so what I have to do is take account of that. But what I also have to do is never forget that the allies that have been in my life have been of all colours. And when I was going to walk away from law because I couldn't handle the racism that was there, it was a white manager that came to my rescue and salvaged me and said, you can't walk away. I've got a chief executive now within the London Borough of Waltham Forest who allows me to haul her over the fire when she's done something that we don't think is fair for the Race Equality Network. But we have a very strong, powerful relationship. And one of the things we've got to remember is it's good that we don't understand everything about each other. It's how we try to bridge that gap. And at the end of it, we may still never be able to be in those shoes. You'll never be able to be in my shoes. I'll never be able to be in your shoes. But one of the things I do know is that the one thing we all have in common, the three of us in this room right now, is we care about equality. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what colour we are. Yes, we've experienced it from different spheres, but we care about equality. And so that is what we hold on to. What do we have in common rather than what is it we don't understand about each other? And I will champion equality. And as long as, and I'll say this forever, as long as one person continues to believe in equality, they will never win. People who don't believe in it, because we will always have a voice. And never worry about the fact that you may think, well, I've got white privilege. That's what a lot of people say. But what privilege? Privilege is how we see ourselves and what we do with what we've got. As a black woman, sometimes people will say to me, oh, you love the spotlight, don't you? You really love the spotlight. Half the time things happen to me, I haven't got anything to do with it. I don't even know it's happening. But I have to accept that there will be haters on our journey.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys will have haters on your journey. We just need to scrap that and say, fine, it's there. But what is it that we have in common? What is it that we all want? And then we focus on that. Whether we agree with each other's backgrounds or not, we focus on that.
I just think that's so incredible. Everything you say, I feel so spurred on in what we're doing. And I think that's something that people don't do. They don't look for commonality in these conversations. And yes, you do not have to agree with absolutely everyone who's doing the same thing as you. There are often times Rebecca and I might disagree on a particular stance or approach to getting to the end goal of inclusivity, but that doesn't mean that what she's doing is wrong or what I'm doing is wrong. We're just doing it differently because we've got different lived experiences. And I think contention is so challenging nowadays because it's almost that we live in a world where if you disagree, you're wrong. If our views are different, you're wrong. And actually, I think when you look at it, most people want the same thing. They want to provide for their families. They want other people to feel included. It's just different messaging to get to the same goal.
And I met a lady called Agnes Kaposi, who is she's 93 now, and she's a Holocaust survivor. And she came to the council to talk about her journey, and she's an engineer. This woman is amazing. I mean, she can walk up and down the road. You just never know. And I said to Agnes when we had a long conversation, I said, Agnes, I'm so proud to be a black woman. I'm so proud to be black. And Agnes looked at me and she said, why? And I thought,
oh dear.
I thought, why? And she says, why would you be proud of a characteristic you can't help? Shouldn't you be proud of all the things you've achieved? What? And that was the beginning of my Lefty Lawyer book, because I thought I am honoured and of my cultural background. I love it. I love to be Jamaican and English. I can do the Jamaican accent and all the rest of it. And I love the camaraderie between when you're going to a club and you're all black people and you're rocking together. You just feel that camaraderie. You feel that camaraderie when you're listening to cheesy pop with your white mates. You just feel the lot.
You've got that to a T.
There you go. So I've got the best moment. But when Agnes said that, it just made it clear. A characteristic that none of us can help. Two white females. You can't help being two white females. I can't help being a black female. But what I can show is what have I achieved? That's what I should be proud of. And so that is what I think I've held on to through Agnes's words. And that woman, she is amazing.
Your legacy and your footprints.
There you go.
And how beautiful they are.
There you go. That's perfect.
Right. I'm leading us on to the last question.
Oh, wow. Already there. Oh,
I
my
know.
God. It's just flowing.
I could do this all day. So it's a little bit of a long one, so strap in. For anyone listening out there who doesn't feel seen or maybe feels alone, so maybe they've recently moved to a new place or they're a minority in a social setting or workplace, which we know can be particularly challenging given the current political climate, do you have any groups, spaces, ideas that you could share or recommend that could help individuals to feel more safe and included, even if that's just words of encouragement, so that we can work towards that inclusive community?
Okay. There's hundreds and hundreds of things people can be signposted to, but the first place you've got to signpost yourself to is yourself. That's the first place. And then you've got to look at what is it I like. For me, I love music. I listen to people who inspire me. That's the beginning of signposting for me. If I wake up one morning and I feel really bad and I just don't want to deal with the day, I plug in my headphones and I listen to somebody who's going to rock my world. So Frank Sinatra is brilliant for That's Life. That's one of them things, you know. He just transports me back to, you know, you get back on that horse and you ride again. You just get on with it. And I would say that you've got to think about your own personal experiences as to where you fit in. Affirmations, music, writing, creativity, that's the beginning, because that will take you to other places. And one of the things you've got to look at for the Windrush, I would say there's all these organisations out there that can help you, but there's far too many for you to just pinpoint one. So I would say to every person who needs to find some kind of support, the beginning of that journey is to start with yourself. After you've done that, you've got to look around you in your immediate circle for somebody who you feel safe enough to talk to. Before you go external, you got to go there to begin with. And it's got to be someone you feel safe with. And if you talk to that person, then you will start building your signposting to where you want to be. But it will start with a song. It will start with your feelings. It will start with who you are, because you won't get the right signposting if you don't start with yourself. And everybody wants to jump on a bandwagon and say, oh, do you know what? I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this. Can you tell me who I can speak to? Lots of law students come to me all the time. Oh, Pauline, can you give me some advice as to where I can go, what I can do? I says, well, what area of law are you interested in? And if you're interested in an area of law, what are you doing to look at what they're doing in that area? Have you written a blog? Have you contacted people in that area? Have you looked at what people in that area are doing? Because I'm sure they've written articles and things. Start reading those articles. Try and get yourself in. And then you do a little blog. If you're a trainee solicitor or a law student, write a blog about what it's like. Put it out there so that other people gravitate to you. And by the time you get your papers, you've got a fantastic CV. So that's just one hint of it. If you're a woman going through some kind of abuse in any way, anyhow, the beginning of your journey is one thing that the abuser can't do is he can't stop you from listening to something that you want to listen to. You're sitting in your house on your own. You put something in, headphones, and you just start building your strength through the words of others, because he can't touch you if you're doing that, because he's not even going to care.
Yeah.
But you're building your strength. You're getting rid of that kryptonite. That is the power. And it's like, that means you're building your strength within yourself. And so for me, that's what you do. You think, I might not be able to go out the door because he watches everything I do. But what he can't stop me from doing is putting my headphones in and listening to somebody that's going to empower me, which could be Tina Turner. And while you're listening to Tina Turner, you're thinking about Tina Turner's journey, what she went through. But they're not going to be thinking that, but you're going to be thinking that. You've got to find all these different places where you can go to signpost yourself to get to where you want to be. It's like, think outside the box.
I think that's the motto for today's all around inclusion and equity is thinking beyond the box.
Because some women physically can't get out.
Yeah.
They're physically, cybercrime, people are trapped in this world and they can't physically dial a number or go somewhere. But they don't realise the superhero's right in here.
Yeah.
Through the radio or through music or through YouTube or through something else. Do you see what I mean? And and then they start to build their strength through that. And then they might empower themselves to say, I'm going to call somebody.
Yeah, it sounds really bleak, the quote I'm going to reference, but I think it's really poignant. And I read it somewhere, probably Pinterest, as we all do, is that, one of the best things you can learn is that no one else is coming to save you. And as bleak as that sounds, I think it's really true that we often rely on the support of others to advance ourselves. And I think that's great. Networking is a fantastic thing. But we very rarely consider that we have that power within us to advance us, to change careers, to get out of situations that are challenging, to overcome adversity. And actually, there is so much more within you already that you've not necessarily tapped into because you're so dependent on, well, this person might be able to help me or they can give me advice. And oftentimes we ask for advice because we want someone to reinforce what we already know.
Yeah.
And that's something I'm sure, Rebecca, you see a lot as well in terms of mentoring within the industry and people that are looking to advance in their careers.
Very much so. But again, it's about owning it for yourself. It's like you said, I can validate what you're thinking. I can reinforce stuff you already know. But you need to own it and listen to yourself. Listen to what the problem actually is for you, or the thing you're trying to overcome for you. And then, yes, you can drill down and find the right resources or extra support out there. But like Pauline said in such a magnificent way, it starts with you and finding out what you need to be happy, to carry on and to keep digging deep.
Yeah, that's exactly how we've got to be. And I think for us as generally, I don't have the answer to every single question that comes my way. But sometimes I do get quite despondent when I do get people just contact me out the blue, which I've never heard of before, who have never done anything in social justice area because they know that I'm doing lots of stuff and they want to tap in. And then I look at them and I say, well, what have you done? I'm not just going to hand you this on a platter. You've got to work for it, because I had to work for it. But I'll support you all the way. But I need to see that you care about what you want for yourself, because nothing comes easy. And as a black woman, I know it doesn't come easy. But I've been trying to break into TV and become like a person who talks about Windrush and social justice things on TV. And it's always the same faces you see on TV all the time. And you guys, I hope you guys do you know Grease? The film.
The film.
Of course.
Because I know
Which Grease do we mean?
The one with yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
There's a part in there where you've got this woman, I can't remember her name, Chachi Lagoria or whatever. She's in the gym.
Oh, yeah.
And she's walking on the outside, getting ready to knock Olivia whatever out. So she's dancing with John Travolta.
Yeah.
And she looks about 100 years old. I think that woman should not be on that camera. What the hell is she doing in that school? She looks so...
She doesn't give off school vibes.
No, she doesn't.
No.
And she's
hard paper around.
And that's how I describe my life.
Right.
For TV. This is the next thing for me. I will get there.
Yeah,
But
you will.
they won't let me in very easily, but I will get there. But I'm her. I'm walking on the periphery and I'm nearly in, and I'm just walking and making my way. And that's how we've got to look at our lives. If a door is not open to us, we just have to make our way around the sidelines and wait for that gap. And when we see that gap, we just dodge in. And that's what women, men, everyone who wants to change their career can do. You wait for your moment. You build towards it, because she's a great dancer. She already knows she's got the skills to take that spotlight. She's just waiting for her moment, and that's what we've got to do in our lives.
I can't wait for you to get your John Travolta.
I can't wait. I can't wait. And TV is the next thing for me. But God knows, it's going to happen, but it's just not as easy as we would like right now.
We understand.
As most things are.
As most things are.
Okay, so lots of fantastic questions today, which we've had an absolute pleasure answering. Thank you, Pauline, for taking the time to talk to us, but also for the incredible work that you're doing to support underrepresented communities, and overall just being you, because I think you're fantastic. I think you're incredible. Please connect with Pauline on LinkedIn, and please do buy her books. I'm very excited to read them.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm honoured today. I've had such fun. I was just blown.
I'm glad. We do encourage all of our listeners to take the time to consider the role that you can play in bringing individuals from all communities, ethnicities, genders and backgrounds along in the conversation. You are empowered to be understanding, to represent and to question, to be authentic and to break free from your own silences. So to end, if you have any other questions relating to anything we've spoken about today, please pop them through to cyberagonyauntz@gmail.com and we'll do our best to reply there, or maybe even cover in a future podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, please share it with others or post about it on social media using the hashtag CyberAgonyAunt.
As always, a huge thank you to our guests, to Matinee Multilingual, and to you, our listeners. Keep smiling, keep shining, and we'll see you next time on the Cyber Agony Aunts podcast.